We'll roll with it. Hey, welcome everybody. Digital Marketing Wednesday. Your old pal Bill and Coach Ben here, back for another fun edition. And we sprinkled a little magic into today. We're going to get into one of the relatively new social media platforms, TikTok. I'm sure you've seen it in the news, or maybe you've even busted out a few of your own TikTok videos like Debbie has. So we'll save that for a later day. Ben, talk to the folks about what we're going to cover today and where the heck you got that dapper looking jacket.
Well, this is obviously courtesy of my wife, who dresses me better than I can dress myself. So,
all right, fair enough.
Laura, if you're on this or when you see this, thank you.
Yeah,
the virtual fist bump. But yeah, so what we're talking about today is TikTok. We're going to talk a little Zoom. We're going to talk a little Google, and then social media content plans. We get this question a lot, so I think it'd be helpful for us to kind of walk through just a framework for people to use on this to help them out. But really, we should have Debbie cameo on this, and she's the TikTok specialist in the group. I believe she's done more videos than all of us combined. So really, we should have brought her on, but maybe we'll get her next time.
Well, I think what we could do is we could tease the folks here. So those of you who are watching this today's edition, maybe just throw a comment in, giving Debbie a shout out if you want her to post a TikTok of her and one of her daughters. And I bet, I don't want to speak on her behalf. I bet though, if we get enough comments or thumbs up or begging and pleading or something like that, she may just do a video for us. So we shall see. And while you're posting those comments, if you have questions along the way or things that you'd like for Ben to address about all things digital marketing related, just drop them below and I'll grab them before we end today's session. So Ben, what the heck is TikTok and why should we care?
TikTok is a watch. No, it's one of the biggest or most downloaded social media apps really that's taken hold since, I would say, Snapchat. And Snapchat's kind of waned off, and we'll talk about it in a second. But really, just give you some numbers to wrap your head around how big it has gotten. 2 billion downloads in the Google Play Store and the Apple Store. 2 billion downloads. They have 800 million active daily users. 800 million people every single day are on the app at some point. Their average time on the app, and this, you gotta remember, what a social media platform is really driving for is attention. They want your attention on the app. They average 52 minutes per day on this app. That's the average spent on this app. That is an enormous amount of screen time on one platform. And they estimated, and again, this is all estimated because it's all locked down. We can't get the data on it, but they estimated that for every person on their app that was on that above that average of 52 minutes per day, that person would spend anywhere from $50 to $200 based on the influencers that they followed or the ads that they're starting to roll out on the platform. They started rolling ads out beginning of 2020 onto the platform, beta testing it, and they saw super strong results from it. Again, the category or vertical you're in will depend on your success there. Sure. But overall, it's a powerhouse of a social media platform that we really haven't seen since Facebook or Instagram.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, so we can take this any direction that you want to go because obviously we're aware of the platform. I'm not an active TikToker, so I don't want to come across as like the old man waving a broom, yelling, "Get off my lawn," because I'm not that at all. I am fascinated by it for the numbers that you just mentioned. I mean, the data don't lie, which I guess is debatable coming out of China. That's a different story though. So we do know though that it's super, super popular. So what does that mean for us in real estate though?
Right. Well, it's a really good case study right now for a couple of reasons. The first is if you just watch the tech space in general, and as you all know, with everything in the news and the media talking about the banning of TikTok and what could possibly happen, and it's not allowed in the United States, and then suddenly in the 11th hour, Microsoft came in and they say they're going to buy it, and the Treasury Department is going to get a piece of that deal. All of this stuff is going on, right? That in the background, and if that's interesting to watch, if that gets pulled off, because and Bill and I were chatting about this a little bit before our webinar today. It would be the first time a tech company split up based on regional locations. And there's a lot of nuances behind this. So while it sounds easy on the surface for Microsoft to come in and buy certain parts of the country that TikTok is influencing or being used in, when you think about software development, app development happening in two separate places at the same time and trying to keep them streamlined and running along the same road, it's not the greatest. That's why you haven't seen Facebook split off into regional departments. You haven't seen Instagram split off into regional departments. It's a hard thing to pull off. So if they do it, it'll be interesting to watch, because we have some Goliaths in the real estate tech space right now that potentially could go down the same road if they come in and start breaking up monopolies, that kind of stuff. That's all just hearsay, and we're just looking at it. It's an interesting thing to watch, though. The other side of this, that for us in real estate, we often get this question of, when I'm building my business, what should I concentrate on? And it's super easy to get caught up in looking at all the shiny stuff, right? We look at all the shiny stuff. We say, that's shiny, I want to play with that. That's shiny, I want to play with that. And I'm going to do these 5 things at the same time. And then you end up doing them all on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being awesome, 1 being terrible. You average like a 1.3 across the board. It sucks. You crash and burn, and you go, well, all these things suck, right? So I think it'd be interesting, Bill, to kind of expound on the downside risk of being so heavily concentrated in one area. And this is the scenario I want you to think about. There are people on TikTok who have accumulated millions of followers, and they have turned that into a financial strategy for themselves, where by brands paying them money, they were able to promote products and receive money from products. They were able to sell merchandise through their platform. The downside risk on their side of all this was that they were not on any other platforms. They were only on TikTok. So think about that. Say later this month, they do not come to an agreement and they turn the switch off and it's banned from the App Store. Those people just lost all of their income. So what happens if the sole source of your income went away today? So for example, when inside the coaching company, when we coach our people, we look at 3 big areas, right? We look at database, we look at technology, and then we look at other. And what we typically see, not everyone, but we typically see people are very heavily concentrated in one area. And that's great. We love people to, when you're starting out, concentrate on one zone, go deep on it, learn it really well, and then get really, really good at it, dominate that space. The downside risk, though, is that if the market ever shifts, if something ever happens to you, how are you protecting yourself by going into other verticals? So that's why I think with TikTok, it's an interesting thing to think about, that if you looked at the risk in your business right now, and you were to say, based on just go lead generation, where are you getting your business from? What if that went away? What's plan B? And Bill, I know you have a lot of thoughts around this. I'll let you talk a little more around downside risk within business structures.
Yeah, well, and I think you make a great point on all of that. I don't know that there's much I'd add to it, other than it's a good example of, so let's take TikTok as an example. I don't know enough about it to say yes or no, so I'll just kind of run it through my preliminary old man waving the broom analysis. So I'm going to ask myself the question, is this thing going to be a critical part of my business in the future? If I'm analyzing that right now, I'm going to say maybe, probably not, though, at least not anytime soon. So let's talk quickly about the nature of social media platforms. I'm the same age as Zuckerberg and was sitting in a dorm room when Facebook was started, not in his dorm room, because I wouldn't be here if I was. However, everybody of our age were the first to that platform until our parents showed up. And when our parents showed up on that platform, if we didn't want our parents stalking us on Facebook, we had to have somewhere to go. And that's where Instagram showed up. And then Zuckerberg and Facebook bought Instagram. And then people's parents started showing up on Instagram. And then what happened? Then Snapchat. And now, as you mentioned, Ben, Snapchat sort of faded away. And so you've got Facebook and Instagram really ruling the social media universe. And there's nowhere for high school age kids to go play without their parents watching them. And so it's both the entertainment value of TikTok and the fact that most of us aren't there, or if we are there, it's because we're spying on someone who's using the platform 52 minutes a day to make sure they're not hanging out with hoodlums. So great for them that that's happening, and they're monetizing it, I think, and you tell me if we're wrong on this, they're monetizing that on things that demographic is buying. Right. So if I'm looking at it just from a real estate coach standpoint, I'm not down on the platform. I think it's cool. Am I going to go be selling houses to 16-year-olds? No. So I'm going to look at it, I'm going to say, do I need to know that right now for my business? Probably not. Might I need to know it in the future? Maybe. Instead of heavily investing the time in that, then where would I go look? And I'm back to your point, Ben. I'm going to go to point number 1 in database. I'm going to point number 2, technology, where we know the demographic is, and then build in on that. Because what you're describing, and then I'm going to hand it back to you, what you're describing is not getting too heavily invested in any particular pillar. certainly not invested in a particular pillar that's going to be far better at selling burritos and braces than it's going to be selling real estate.
Yeah, good point. Well, I like the use of the word hoodlums for the day. I'm gonna
Right.
use that on another one of my calls at some point.
Yeah, there you
Call
go.
somebody a hoodlum just for the heck of it.
Yeah.
But it's a good point, right? It's a good thing to think about. And I always go back to this of the thought process of what do you actually control and own? And we
Yeah.
talked about this a couple of our webinars ago on Digital Marketing Wednesday when we were talking about your list, right, or your database, and looking at that and saying, no matter what other facets you use, that's the endpoint that everyone needs to end up in. And this is a really prime example of if you were overexposed, right? You had too much exposure inside of TikTok, and that was your sole source of income. And then it went away. It's because you didn't have any control over your people that were following you or that liked your brand or liked you as a person. So I always go back to the database piece was always kind of like the central tenet where all these other pillars can help fill that funnel and drive people into it. So when we look at TikTok or any other platform you guys are looking at, the first thing I would say is always start small, right? So pick one platform, get really, really good at it. For us, I mean, I'm going on a decade now of playing with Facebook and learning all the algorithm changes and learning how to advertise correctly. And there are still stuff on there that we are learning every single day. And that's a decade of doing it a lot. So I look at that and I say, now that we've gone deep there, we've branched out into other things and we're testing other areas that we think could be beneficial for us to have an audience on. However, if you follow us on anything, you'll notice we're always driving people back to our list where we have control. So it's a good thing for you to think about when you're looking at technology in general. First, pick one thing to go after, not 10. And then two, always be thinking, how can I drive them back to an area that you do have control over, which is your list of people or the people that are in your database.
Sure. It's a great point. So before we move on to talking about mobile responsive websites or Zooming or whatever you'd like to talk about next, if I'm watching this and I'm like, yeah, I think TikTok's cool. I want to do some more stuff with it. Is there a play there that you see right now? And if so, what is it?
I think it's attention. So I do think you could have a play there. The bigger thing is, like Bill is saying, the demographics point to it being skewing towards a younger audience. So if you're thinking of right now business, I don't know that you would get anything out of it right now. I'm not saying you couldn't. I'm not saying you couldn't TikTok something and somebody shows up out of the blue and wants to buy a house, or maybe one of those influencers on there who have just gobs of cash sitting around and go, I want to buy a house today. That could happen. But if I'm going on probabilities and saying what's the best way to use my time, I would venture towards the other platforms. And I can already tell you that Zuckerberg takes it seriously enough that they just rolled out Insta Reels, which is just like TikTok on Instagram. And that's how they killed Snapchat, right? So we talked about Snapchat at the top. That's why it went away, was because of Zuckerberg. So I always look at where is he going next? And if I see a titan or a big company in the industry start moving on another up and rising person's territory or their platform style, thinking of Facebook and Instagram and using Instagram to kind of fend off all the people that may come into the social media domain. I always look at that and I go, is this really a viable option? Like, will it be here in 2 or 3 years? Most social media companies don't last that long. So to answer your question, if you're trying to generate interest and get attention, sure, it's a great way to go do it. New platform, attention is cheap. You'll get a lot of organic notice on it. Are you going to get in front of a demographic that can buy or sell a house? Based on the statistics and the numbers, not really, but they'll buy something down the road. So it's a long-term play. Then I think that if that's your mindset going into it and you have other pieces of your business platform set up, your database is humming along, you have other technology pieces in place for yourself, I don't see the harm in that case. But what I say, I'm going to skip database, I'm going to go do TikTok, I would say that's probably not the best business plan.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Well, there's a cool story that you guys could Google of, and that's why I mentioned braces a second ago. The orthodontist who was killing it on TikTok because the kids that were about to get braces saw it and then showed it to their parents and said, hey, let's go do this. Obviously paraphrasing the whole story. So I mean, there's a fascinating wrinkle there. To your point, though, I'm not going to go get bogged down in it. Just keep an eye on it, though, because I think it's interesting and it's hard to debate. 800 million downloads, you said it was, and like 1 million daily active users.
2 billion downloads, 800 million daily active users.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, that's amazing. Which, by comparison, for those who are keeping score at home, Facebook and Instagram, 2.4 billion daily active users. So they're only they're a third, which is sizable. That's nothing to sneeze at. They're a third of the active users of those platforms. So anywho, I'm glad we got a chance to talk about that. And if the comment thread stacks up, we'll have Debbie post a TikTok. She's awesome at it. So
yep.
All right, what do you want to talk about next?
Let's talk Zoom for a second, because I'm hearing a lot of people kind of ask questions around how they're not comfortable on camera still. They don't love the video aspect of things. So I thought starting with Zoom and then moving into other video things for people would be a good way to go. And there's a couple of tips around this, and then also kind of a reframe. We've talked about leverage before, and I think Zoom or video is a really great way to leverage your business. And again, I go back to, it is socially acceptable now to use video on a lot of different things, whereas before it was kind of like, I may or may not watch that video. Now people expect it and they appreciate it. So when I think of how to get comfortable in front of Zoom, the first one is, and I want you to write this down, you have to do it. You have to do it. Go out and do a Zoom. Even if you just practice by yourself, record yourself. That's one way we get our new agents comfortable with it, is we have them record themselves doing a presentation on Zoom, just so that they can watch it back later. Just so they get comfortable using the controls, get comfortable in front of the camera. But there's 3 big things that will help you right off the bat. Just feel better in front of a Zoom camera. The first is sound. If your sound sounds good on Zoom, you can use a headset, you can use a wired plug-in one, you can get a microphone, whatever it is, but having good sound is key. That's really important for video in general. But if you can improve your sound, you're going to feel a lot better. Your lighting, make sure the light is hitting your face and it's not behind you so people can't see you.
Like that.
Yeah, they're like that. See, if you're blocking the light, it's not so bad. But it's
that's why I stay right here in the afternoons.
Exactly. So if that light's coming from behind you, it just kills the camera and people can't see you. And then when you're sitting there, they've done studies on it now where they've done heat maps on tracking people's eyes. I think it's like 72% of the time people are looking at themselves and not the other people. Right. So imagine how distracted you can get if that light is bouncing in and ruining your camera when you're on a call with someone, you're doing a webinar.
Right.
The third thing that you can do is just set a professional setting up for yourself. I've actually heard this is going in the listing descriptions now, where they're calling them Zoom rooms in people's houses, where if a room is aesthetically appealing, they look around and they go, this is a great room for you to have Zoom calls and for your conference calls. It's like one of the selling features now of houses.
Sure.
So that's something to consider. Those 3 things, if you do that, you're going to feel really comfortable in front of a camera in conjunction with just doing it. But that's going to make your quality go up a lot, and just overall, it'll make it an easier experience for you.
Yeah. So I know we've talked about this a number of times, going all the way back to when we first began this series back in mid-March. And I'll ask the question again for those who may be new to the program or might need a friendly reminder. Why am I going to spend the time to get good at doing this right here?
Because it's not going away. And in fact, it's getting more and more used in society. And we're like we talked about a couple weeks ago, maybe, where your speed and ability to use Zoom at a high level with a client, so you're not fumbling around and messing up your presentation, or you can't share something, or you get flustered because you feel like they're waiting on you. Your ability to show that you know how to use this technology, it can win appointments. It can get agreements signed on the spot. It speeds everything up. So for us, it's not going away. And we're hearing, before it was, hey, we're going to do a Zoom meeting with you. We're getting people requesting this now. Now they're saying, hey, can we do a Zoom meeting? Can we just hop on a Zoom call today and talk about whatever it is, if it's a buyer consultation, listing consultation. We're doing listing consultations now, where before it was that we had to go to the house, meet the people, look at the house, do an assessment, come back to the office, write up the CMA, figure out the numbers on it, and then either go back out there or get them on a second call to close them. And now it's like they're walking through the house, and they'll walk you through their house on their computer, and they'll say, hey, look at this, look at this, look at this. It gives us a good ballpark to work through, and then we're getting it signed on that one call, and we're knocking it all out right at one time. So I don't think it's going away. And the so far our really non-scientific data pool here is telling me that it's going to stick for a while.
Sure. Sure. What's going to stick because the consumer is going to eventually demand. Right now they appreciate, maybe not so much demand. Eventually they will demand the efficiency of it. I had the same experience like 2 weeks ago. I had just a regular checkup scheduled with a doctor and ended up doing it like this. I literally was standing right where I am right now, and in 14 minutes across this had a doctor's appointment. And I went downstairs and I told Sarah, I said, I'm never going to the doctor again unless it's over the computer. Because there's zero reason for me to go sit in anyway, I don't want to belabor the point. You get the idea. So it went from traditionally it was that, now it's this, and in one meeting said never again. I mean, unless it's an emergency or something. There's no reason for me to do it when I can just call them right here.
Right. Well, and that's the thing is that we have to, and we're belaboring the point because I still hear people not using it. I still see agents being resistant to this. And this is one of those things where the more comfortable you get with the technology piece of this, the better chances you have of making it in the next 5 years. Again, it's just so consistently normal now for us to get on a Zoom call. The other piece of what I want to talk about today with Zoom was leverage, right? So we're always talking about how can you leverage your time and get really efficient. And if I coach you or you're in my world for more than 15 minutes, you're going to hear me talk about automations and efficiency, where I'm always trying to squeeze out more time or figure out, is there a way for us to get this off our plate so we can spend the time doing the most important things? And for us, what we found out, I've told this before, our presentations, whenever you have a presentation that's informational, you can record that and send it. People will watch it so that when you're on these Zoom calls, you're not, teaching a class. You're interacting, you're asking them questions about their interests, you're building rapport, you're qualifying them, you're spending time doing the most important thing versus you sitting there doing a presentation piece. So that's leverage to me. If you're doing seminars, this is something we ran back in March when it first happened. We ran a seminar. And we've done several more now where we recorded them and we've just put them on autopilot, where every week we'll put them on Eventbrite. We have a recorded webinar. They sign up to watch it. They go inside of our funnel. We then send them drip campaigns. Guess how much work that is for us? Zero. It takes 5 minutes to put together an Eventbrite piece for everybody, promote it out there. They sign up on it. They go through the whole funnel. They actually watch a seminar on how to buy a home, on how to sell a home, how to maximize your ROI if you want to invest in homes, things to watch out for with new construction. Do a seminar on all those, record them with a lender, record them with an inspector, put them on autopilot. That's leverage, guys. Now people don't have to, and it's on their schedule too, right? So they don't have to drive in to come to your seminar on a day or time that's not convenient for them. They can watch at their own pace. They can learn. And what it does is it pre-qualifies them for us. So they come in having watched all this information. And instead of me sitting in a room with 30 people, if you get that many to a seminar, instead of me sitting in a room with 30 people and hoping that one person converts, now it runs 5 days a week. And if I get 3 or 4 people out of all those webinars that raised their hand, that's a win for us because there was no additional time spent on it. So I look at the leverage side of this as well. And I would really encourage people to say, okay, let's jump in. Let's start leveraging out pieces of our business right now that's more informational or repetitive or redundant. Record it, put it on autopilot so you can go do your most important work. I always hear agents talk about, Bill, and I know you hear this a lot too, about being busy. They're always, running, doing things. And I always step back for a second and think, well, when you're in the business, if you step back for a second, what can you look at that you could work on the business with? Video is a big piece of where you can leverage so many things now, and it's normal. That's the thing. Like you said, as consumers start demanding it, they're also normalizing it. So It's not weird for us to send a seminar to one of our buyers in one of our funnels. They sit and watch it, come back to us and say, hey, I need to talk to a lender. They automatically get sourced to one of our lenders. Guess how much time we spent trying to convert that person? None. It's all automated. So I look at that and I say, if you're overwhelmed in your day, think about what can you leverage out. Video is a really easy thing to pick into. And a lot of it's not expensive. YouTube is free. You have a cell phone. It has a camera. Put a headphone in, record yourself doing stuff if you have to, whatever you need to do, but use that as leverage points for yourself to not only produce business, but nurture business and convert business.
Right. Yeah. And the consumer likes the seminar thing too. So don't let it be the limiting belief that they have to come see you in your office to do it. This is not a new thing. I got a box of Zig Ziglar tapes in the cabinet over there that were just recorded from a seminar. So it's not a new idea. It's just a different platform.
Yeah, that's the big thing, right? is we have this ego attached to it that we think people need to see us live, or they need to come in and shake hands and kiss some babies to convert these clients. And it's just not the truth anymore. People are used to digital. Do I still think in person is important? Yes. Do I think it's still going to continue? Absolutely. I think it's going to continue. There's going to be business forever. However, what they're going to start looking for are efficiencies. And if you have a buyer who comes in on Monday, can watch a seminar, then goes through a drip campaign where they're getting videos on how you do business and how you're different from everybody while you're sleeping, the next morning you wake up, you have something in your inbox saying they talk to your lender, they're ready to go buy or sell their house, and you didn't do anything to do that beyond recording that initial seminar and setting the drip campaigns up, you're going to beat the agent who's out there trying to beat the doors down on every single deal they go after. That's leverage for you to grow your business down the road.
Yeah, exactly. Well said. Okay, what do you want to hit next?
I'll let the old man with the broom pick. Do you want to do Google? Or you want to talk about social content plans?
Well, let's hit the Google and mobile responsiveness thing real quick, and then let's wrap on social content plans.
Good deal. Yeah, the Google piece was just something that, as I was perusing the internet the other day and just looking at my competitors' websites, checking out what they have going on, checking out some Google pay-per-click stuff that we had talked about, it was interesting to see that a lot of websites are still not mobile responsive, or landing pages that people have set up are not mobile responsive. So back in 2015, Google did what they called Mobile-geddon, right? It's a play on Armageddon, Mobile-geddon, where Google prioritized mobile websites because they noticed the shift in consumer behavior where people went from looking at everything on a computer screen or a desktop or a laptop, and they started looking at them on their mobile. And so they prioritized sites that were mobile responsive or specifically built for mobile. So it's important that your sites are optimized for mobile. If your landing page sucks, so say you run an ad on Facebook or you run an ad on YouTube or Google, and somebody clicks on it and they go to your landing page, if it takes 5 seconds or more to load, 40% of the people leave. They're just gone. They're going to go to your competitor's website because they're going to click back, right? And then click on the next website in the list that answers their question. Or they're just going to click out of it and keep on scrolling in their Facebook feed. So you have to be quick. The responsiveness has to be there, but it has to be fast. So one of the big things that you'll see with mobile responsive websites, people will say their websites are mobile responsive. You have to look at the speed of it as well. So when you're testing this out there, even if someone says, yes, our technology is mobile responsive, really get a speed test on it. There's different tools you can use to see how quick it is. The other thing to think about is continuity. So there's a big difference between what shows up on a desktop screen and a mobile screen. So you want to make sure that everything there, the continuity is whatever ad you do on your front end looks the same on the back end. And when you shift from a desktop to a mobile screen, you need to make sure that your ads are designed for both, basically, so that the continuity is there. And then the intent side of things, you have to be able to blatantly tell them what to do. And again, most people design their ads or things for desktop and not for the mobile experience. So things show up differently on mobile. If you have a click here to see more houses button, when you go to shrink it down on a screen and something goes from the top of the page or above the fold is what they call it, and it shoves it all the way down, that doesn't do you any good, right? They're going to click away because most people don't scroll on stuff. So that's really the 3 things you got to look for in your mobile responsive. It's super important. I was just more shocked at how many people don't have this, or if they had it, it was so slow. It was painful. So continuity, intent, and then speed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you make a great point on all of those. And when we went through completely rebuilding our coaching company website just a few months ago, I had an opportunity to learn a ton about those types of things. So this is an area where there are a lot of really smart people out there on this topic that you can pull in as a freelancer to basically say, look at all the stuff I have, tell me what I'm doing wrong, quote me on what it's going to take to fix it, and then go fix it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. So there was one question that I grabbed. I was looking, when I muted myself, I had looked in at the comment thread. Charlotte was asking, do you record your Zoom meetings with your seller? So I'm going to assume that that's a question about listing appointments. Do you end up recording those, or do you just do them live without recording?
For as in like our team members are recording it with a listing agent, like the listing agent recording them and the seller talking?
That's my interpretation of the question, yes.
Okay. No, we don't record those. They record their practice and role play sessions. So we'll have people pretend to be a seller, or We actually have agents go out and do virtual showings where some people will stay in the office, some people actually go out in the field and look at houses, and they have to do a virtual showing because we need to practice how that looks to the person on the other end. But we'll record those sessions if it's internal practice role play. We don't record stuff with our clients.
Yeah, gotcha. Well, and I'm glad you mentioned, I'll make a quick point, then let's talk social content plans. The virtual showings, just sort of taking your phone and walking through a house kind of thing. Really, really, really important. You and I have talked about this before, to have some sort of an image stabilizer device on that. I mean, they're $100, $150. Hook your phone to it and do it that way. It makes for such a better user experience on the other end, because even if you think you have a steady hand, you don't. And that will show up on the other person's end, which just makes it even harder to communicate the value of the property you're showing.
Right. Well, it's also an odd angle for your arm to hold a phone like this for a long period of time when you're walking around. So your arm naturally gets tired, where if you have an image stabilizer, it's actually more normal on your arm. So that's going to help with the tremors in your arm as you're walking around. Right. The other thing too, I'm glad you mentioned this, Bill, when you're walking around, it's important to practice this. I can't emphasize practice enough on this. And that's why we actually have our agents go out and practice this stuff with people, is how you narrate a home to someone who's not there. It is a skill. I promise you, you will be shocked, especially if someone's newer in the industry. I would say between 1 and 2 years in, they don't have that skill set yet of pointing out certain features of a home. So helping your agents learn, or for yourself learning, what are the features in a house? What are they called? What are certain names for certain things? What's a soffit? When you're looking at granite countertops, can you tell if they're tier 1 or tier 5 granite? Those kind of things are important to home buyers. And if you can point that out while you're walking through and kind of verbalize that for them, it's going to help them understand what's going on. That was one of the bigger things we learned with our agents when they practiced, was they didn't know that it almost sounded like they were reading an MLS sheet. They were just saying, here are 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, 1,600 square feet. Here's hardwood floors. It's like, holy cow, who would want to listen to that for 30 minutes, right? So we really work on that. I would encourage, as you're doing this, go practice that.
Sure. Well said. All right, so let's dig in on social content plans. What do you got there for us, and what's the crew at home need to know?
Yeah, so social content plans, we get a lot of questions around what should I be posting, how much should I be posting, give me ideas around what to post. So I came up with 3 things that when you're looking at the framework for how we do this. And then I'll also give you kind of like a Monday through Friday, just kind of a Kickstarter plan that we use. It's pretty simple. Again, that's the biggest thing here, just keep this as simple as possible. Sure. I think too many agents get so caught up in coming in, trying to post something on all the social media channels every single day. And then the other side of this too, is they plan it out so far in advance that it just overwhelms, is the word I often hear, is that I'm overwhelmed with trying to do this. So then they end up doing nothing. So the first thing, pick one platform. And I know you'll hear me say this a lot, pick one platform and be consistent. The biggest thing that all these platforms look for is consistency. What they don't like is you coming in, dropping information or posting something once every blue moon. They're not going to give you high reach. They're not going to give you high engagement. They're not going to help you out on that front. So if you had to pick a platform right now that I would say, where's the money at? I would say Facebook is obviously the big daddy of them all. Go on there, be consistent on your personal and your business pages or your groups, whatever you have set up. Be consistent in your posting. The other side of this is it's called social media. Social media, not platform media, where you get up there and just yell out to the crowd all day your opinions, your thoughts, and your ideas. You need to go out and be social with people. So that means engagement. See, Facebook and Instagram, since Facebook owns Instagram, one of the things we do before we post stuff is we actually go out under our page's profile and we do a warm-up activity. And we spend 5 to 10 minutes commenting, liking, sharing, hitting on people's pages, hitting on local businesses, just commenting on their posts, saying good job, whatever it is. And that tells the algorithm that we're an active page. So then suddenly we post and the algorithm goes, oh, this person's active on our platform. So we're going to reward that behavior with other people then being attached to you. And all those people you went and commented on, and we've tested this now where it's scary how this works. Anybody you comment on, anybody you post on, most of the time you're going to show up in their feeds now because Facebook goes, oh, you commented on their stuff. You guys have a link. And that's how the algorithm works. So they're going to connect you guys when you post something now. And if those are local businesses, you can set it up that they're going to comment back on your stuff. So now you're exposing yourself to their audiences. So always take a moment, at least 5 to 10 minutes, and just warm the platform up. Again, this is why you pick one platform and not 10, because it'll take you 3 hours to warm all the platforms up before you're getting done. But then engage and then post, engage and then post. That's the rhythm you have to get in on these, and just be consistent about that. Second key thing, video. Oh no, this is new, right? Holy cow. Why didn't anybody tell us about video before?
I think they knew that was coming.
Video at least once per week. Video at least once per week. I don't care if you pick one day, or say beginning of the month, you pick one day and then you just record all of your videos for the month. I don't care how you do it. You need to post at least one video a week. 45% of people watch 1 hour or more of video daily.
Wow.
On Facebook and YouTube.
Wow.
So half the people that get on their platforms watch 1 hour or more of video daily on Facebook and YouTube. So you need to do video. They're still rewarding people who do video. They really reward people who do live videos. They like those the best because they know that's all native to their platform and internal. The other thing I'll say with video is turn on the auto captions at the very least. If you have time, go through and fix the verbiage, because the auto captions are going to miss words. They're going to misspell things. It's going to look like gobbledygook sometimes. So you need to go in and correct that if you can. If not, at least turn it on. There's something like 70% of all videos that are watched on social media platforms are watched with the sound off. Right. And people read the captions on them. And that's because they may be, at work doing something important, and they're scrolling through and they're looking to see a video come up. And they read the subtitles on the video. So make sure your subtitles are on, and then if you have time, correct them. So you don't need to worry about getting all the spellings correct and everything. Just at least make it so it's legible, so people aren't reading it and thinking, is this in Russian, when they only speak English.
Right. Yeah.
Third key thing, content for all levels. So this is something that as you grow on this platform and you get further into doing this daily, one thing we recognized was that it seems, and Bill, you tell me your perception on this from how you see it, it seems that a lot of real estate agents, when they do content, they primarily do content for first-time home buyers, right? It feels like everything's geared around how to buy a home, or the process of buying a home, or where to find a home at, best areas to live in, all that kind of stuff. And the angle they put on it is it's very first-time home buyer-ish. Like you're explaining the process, you're explaining all this information. And for us, we ran into where we weren't producing content for all the levels just in our database. So we started looking inside of our database and we're saying, well, who else is in here? There's home sellers, right? That's a big category. But then break down the home sellers. You have first-time home sellers who have never sold a home before. You have people who are selling and buying a home. You have people who are maybe downsizing their home, right? So they're selling a home to buy a smaller home. Empty nesters. You have all this other categories within the home seller piece that we're like, okay, they need a different type of content. And then if you go below that and start going demographic as well, maybe you're in a niche area where I know around us, we have a lot of pharmaceutical and financial companies around us. So maybe that's an area you can flex in, because you came from that vertical and you stepped into real estate. So you can talk about things that relate to real estate in their language or their lingo that would appeal to them and catch their interest. So think about content on all levels when you're doing this. Don't just get so honed in on making it a very generalized approach to it. Now, I say that with this caveat: if you have a niche that you're going after, by all means, make the content for that niche.
Sure.
Overall, if you see yourself as just going down that first-time home buyer path and you prefer more sellers, I would say look at the content you're putting out there. What are you attracting? What kind of bait are you putting out there, and what are you attracting? You might need to switch up your content a little bit. Yeah.
Well, you make a good point there too. And I like the nuance of looking at your database, your past clients, and kind of what's in there. And let's say that I'm sort of heavily concentrated in my own demographic that would most likely be like the move up buyers. We're going to sell our first or second house. We're going to move up into the family house, if you will. And then so that group, and then one level above that. So if you're right now heavily concentrated in first-time buyers, so work that and one level above, which is your first-time seller, move-up buyer that Ben's talking about. And then so as your database continues to mature, you're constantly leveling up one more time. And so you're stretching your legs into a spot that makes sense as your database continues to mature.
Right. And that makes total sense. And that's the way you need to break it down when you're looking at what content to do for people. The biggest thing for me is you have to think about this almost as a conversation. So the person on the other side of the conversation, are you speaking to them about things that they care about? And I think I talked about this a little bit with our conversion plans, where we realized we were telling people about how to buy a home on our inbound leads, and a lot of them had houses to sell. And they were going, this doesn't mean anything to me right now because I have to sell my home first. So once we changed that up, all of a sudden the conversion rates went up. We had more conversations with people, and we saw more business out of it. Simply from looking at it from, if you're having a conversation with somebody, are you talking about the things they care about? If you're not, then they're not going to interact with you. So it kind of goes without saying.
Yeah, I like it. Well, and you're triggering another thought here too, because I think maybe, and tell me your thoughts on this, you could play this based on what's going on in the market too. Like one of the things you and I've talked about, a number of our clients are already executing on, homes with pools right now are all the rage. And for all the obvious reasons, people are looking at it and saying, well, if I'm going to have to be cooped up in my house for a long period of time, I might as well have a pool in my backyard. And so not only lead generating off of that, looking for buyers who have an interest in homes with pools, or walking distance to the beach if you're in a coastal market, or here's how quickly you can get to your boat or to the park or the whatever else. So maybe there's some content to be had there. The popularity of pools, maybe it's something about houses with pools, or maybe you're meeting with the pool guy to talk about pools. So there's a whole bunch of little spin-offs you could use from what the market's bringing you right now.
Yeah, it's a really smart play. And one of the easiest ways to get data on this is look at trending searches on Google. You can use a bunch of tools for this, or you can just go straight to Google itself and look at trending searches. It'll tell you keywords that people are searching, and that's the behavior they want to talk about. So like Bill said, if it's swimming pools in your area, then you just build out the long tail keyword for yourself, build some content around that. I mean, think about like the top 5 ways to make sure you find a home with a pool, or the top 5 best deals when you're buying a house with a pool, or maybe you interview somebody who's a pool specialist and they put pools in, or they maintain pools. Information like that's super valuable to them, because then they will come to your page based on, searching for pools. So I think it's a smart play based on whatever's popular at the time. But using Google search trends will help you narrow down what those are based on your area.
Sure. Or maybe you could go like Instagram influencer Michael Phelps or something.
There you go.
maybe a bit of a stretch. All right, let me see if we have any other questions from the crew while you think about what we want to cover before we wrap up. Quick tactical question or technical question. Ben, do you have a suggestion on the best image stabilizer device?
The one we use personally, I tell you one I don't like, and I'll tell you one I do like. The one I don't like is that Smove one, SMOVE, piece of junk, does not work really well. It just crapped out every single time. We got it replaced, it crapped out again. Not worth the money. And it was about, I think it was $100, that $80, $100. I can't remember exactly what it cost. It was in that range. We use the DJI Osmo. And that's the one we use. We use the mobile version of it right now. It's compact, so it folds up. It's almost the size of your cell phone. So it's super easy to use, pretty user-friendly overall. That's my favorite one. I think the one that we got, it was like $150, something like that. It's not terribly expensive and absolutely worth it. I like that one too, because the mobile, I think all the DJIs do it, but I think the mobile one has the app you run your camera through, but you can put it on a table. It has a stand that goes underneath of it, and it tracks your face. So if you're teaching something in front of a room, it will track with you and move with you if you don't have a cameraman to keep it on you. So I like it for that reason as well, beyond the image stabilization.
Yeah, totally agree. I had the first generation one, and then we upgraded to the 3 or whatever they have now, and love it.
Yeah.
All right. So I think that hit all the questions we had in the comment thread. What do you want to leave the crew with, either as an action item or a parting word or two?
Well, let's do this. Let's leave them with the game plan for a content calendar for the week. So if you're sitting here going, I don't know how to get started on this. I don't know. I'm not creative. I don't have any ideas. Don't worry. I got something for you. So let's do this. So Monday, you're going to do a video, and your video is going to be authentic, and it's going to be talking about something in your market, or maybe a showing you went on that weekend, or maybe an open house you did, or maybe something you learned that you think you need to share with people. That's Monday. Tuesday, real estate statistic. That's what you're going to talk about. You can do a post on it. You can take a snapshot of your TMLS number, something along those lines, post that on your social media. Wednesday, You're going to do something with one of your listings. If you have no listings, go find someone with a listing. Find a really cool feature of that listing, right? We're going to talk about it. And the best way to get engagement around this is to ask, do you like this or not? And I guarantee you people have an opinion. They're going to say, no, this sucks, or yes, I love it. So it's going to create a lot of engagement. And your job on that, answer every single person who says a comment on there. You need to comment back, right? That's how the algorithms will reward you over time. Thursday, you're going to come up with a real estate question. You know, what is your perception of the market right now? Do you think there is going to be a housing recession? Think about words that are polarizing. Recession is a polarizing word. You're not trying to instigate fear. People will have an opinion on it. Remember, we're looking for engagement here. And then Friday, you're going to take that content for all levels piece, figure out who's your niche that you have not been talking to, and make it towards your database if you want to. But overall, you're going to engage them. I would suggest doing a video on Friday. You can do a post, maybe a longer form post, giving them some information on the market, specifically addressing first-time home sellers, for example. But that's your 5-day plan. Do that every week for a month, and you'll see people come out of the woodwork and start talking to you.
Yeah, good stuff. Great job as always, Ben. Thanks everybody for being with us live. If you're watching the recording, feel free to drop some comments below. We'll monitor that thread and answer any questions that you may have. And we'll catch you 2 weeks from today for the next round. See you, everybody.
Bye, guys.